welcome to Hardpoints, a CDL show here on YouTube and podcast form, which can be found on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Hopefully give some inspiration and fire to some struggling performances in Major 1 Week 1. And here is the news from our dearly beloved CDL Intel. Gentlemen agreement chat leaks have finally been announced. We had some podcasts talking about it, like trying to figure it out. Some people talking about it, and no one was willing to spill the beans, but we finally have the beans having spilled all over the floor. The gentlemen's agreement chat leaks. Boston, LA Thieves, Vegas, and LAG wanted to keep the M4 in, which we have the chat here. We see Alex saying keep it in. One more vote. LA Thieves, M4 in. Boston, LA Thieves, Vegas, as you see there. A little screenshot from Slasher. He was willing to give the information. And then if we looked at smokes, snipers in, Minnesota, Seattle, Toronto, smokes out. Which on top of that, it's just phased now. So that's who wanted the smokes out. The smokes is less of a big topic. A lot of people saying it's too cheesy. The players saying it's too cheesy to be able to throw a smoke down, get out of cover, and shoot through the smoke, as it's easier to be in the smoke and shoot out than to be out of it. Unless sometimes it's also easier to be out of it when you can see the red dots. So it's just cheesy. And I'm actually on board to have smokes out at this point as the way the smokes work. I think it's ridiculous. But if smokes work the way as Call of Duty would want them to work and as they're intended, I'm all in for smokes. I think it just adds another layer of competitiveness, and you can really make some cool strats with smokes. But the way smokes work in the current game and in just like the last few Call of Duties, being able to shoot from inside out or seeing red dots through it is just ridiculous. So I totally agree with the smokes. However, the M4 is not. So I totally agree to get it out. I'm actually probably most on board to just allow one M4 in, as when I use the TAC in competitive or Call of Duty multiplayer, the TAC honestly does just as well in more flex situations, and I'm extremely down to just allow the main AR to have the M4 sit on top of buildings, sit on sightlines, and allow them to kind of go with it and have a better gun that shoots farther. Because honestly, the TAC does so well as well. But it's looking like the M4 is in because of these teams, which is really interesting because I'm pretty sure some of these teams, like Zinni on Boston, I'm pretty sure he lied and said that he did not. Vegas, Clayster, if I recall, lied. Octane lied. And so we just have people lying about it, which I'm okay with. It's not really our business. We don't have to know who did it. But now that it's out, we know that these are the teams who wanted it, and let's pray that it leaves by at least Major 2. It cannot not leaves. There's a change to the M4 that doesn't allow 8 M4s on the map. So let's get into the actual conversation here for the actual video, which is my hot seat takes. So the hot seat is I'm going to give 3 players each week who I think, or not necessarily players, just 3 things in the CDL that are on the hot seat. And this is not a way for me to, get these people fired, as hot seat usually means that. But I just want to let them know that they need to improve to play better for their teams or whatever situation it is. So with coming at number 3, we have the Seattle Surge. The Surge have been struggling as a team. And so even though I said Seattle Surge, I'm actually going the coaching staff and accuracy, as accuracy kind of acts in that sense. And that's my number 3 hot seat right now. With the stats being put up from the Seattle Surge, there is no way that this team should be 0-2 at this point. We've seen so many little lackadaisical problems, as in not checking corners, just making stupid choices on the map that I think needs to be addressed by the coaching staff and needs to be fixed. You're on the hot seat because your team has been cooking in terms of Sib. Pred is still being very solid. He's not popping off like he used to. And then Mac had a great day 2 performance. And honestly, the way Sib performed at day 1, there should have been no way that should have been a loss with having a player play. Honestly, in the last 3 years, that might have been the best performance we've ever seen during the CDL era with Sib almost dropping a 2.0 KD. It's just ridiculous. And if you're having players who are able to pop off in these situations, this needs to result in a W. And that's why number 3 is the Seattle coaching staff and accuracy. I'm going to throw accuracy in there because he always is willing to take on the IGL role, the in-game leader. And if he wants to take that on, he has to take some of the blame for these small cues as well. Number 2 is Priesta of the NYSL. Here's the issue with Priesta. Sure, he does not have the worst KD of Major 2. Of the Major 1, Week 1. However, he does have the worst. However, he does have the worst stats in terms of, if we see Priesta here, he has the worst KD for S&D, which is this row, and he has the worst KD of Control. 0.5, 0.4 is never going to cut it. And the reason why, just his stats alone, it doesn't matter who he is, who this person's name is, those stats alone are horrible. And the only thing saving him really at this point is his 1.1 hardpoint KD. But even with the 1.1 hardpoint, he's still sitting at a 0.82, which is 4th worst in the league. Priesta has got to do better, especially with that name, with who we know Priesta is. When NYSL made this decision to bring Priesta in, I immediately thought, okay, they're going to have a great player who's going to be more of a cornerstone piece, who will be able to make his contributions, and hopefully, he's not too strong of a personality, and I think that'll mesh well with what we've seen from the past with NYSL, with Crim6 having some issues there, but this is not going to cut it. Priesta, but then if you look up right on top, Kismet is weak as well with the 8.83. I do not believe their struggles will continue to this extent, but as of right now, after post Week 1, Priesta is on the hot seat at number 2 with these horrific stats. If he's able to pick this up, just himself alone, Kismet's still popping off with a 0.7 and a 0.8. Not popping off, but doing much better than a 0.4 and a 0.5, which is horrific. But I think if Priesta can bring up his game in Week 2, which hopefully with this hot seat, he will feel it, and he can do better for his team there. And which brings us to number 1. If you can see down on the screen, the worst KD is Spart. To say I'm surprised is not necessarily the case, as in last year, he did not perform as well post his whole major victory and MVP victory after he got the Volk GA'd and taken out of the game. But the reason why he's number 1 is for the simple fact, if we go to his stats, 0.75, he's the only person below a 0.8. We got probably around 10 players with a 0.8, and he is at 0.75. But he is a consistent 0.75 throughout most game modes. He is sitting around there, perfectly averaging it. While Priest is able to actually help on hardpoint, Spart has made some influential plays, yes, but I'm giving him number 1 because his team is 1-1, even with his performance being so bad. The way LG's been playing, they've been doing well as a team, being able to pop off some wins, but Spart, it works now with the team winning, but that is not going to last. I guarantee it. And if that occurs, you can guarantee Spart will be on a one-way ticket out of LAG. Because when you're winning with your players not doing so well, everyone's just happy, kind of relieved. But with this type of performance, there's no way that is going to continue going on. So Spart, you're going to take number 1 here. And whenever I watched LAG, I watched both matches, and every time I just saw Spart struggling with like 10 kills and 20 deaths. It just never looked pretty. Again, though, he did have a couple moments of influence. But yeah, Spart, you take on number 1 hot seat spot for this week. Thanks for watching, and please feel free to like and subscribe and watch some other videos from Midnight Release.